Alright, so really quickly going to be going over how I caught these nice little moves on a UJ. Here I ended up catching 20 pips on this move. I also ended up catching the overall move of 60-ish pips. So real quick, gonna break it down. Basically starting off on the 4-hour time frame. Just looking at where the market went previously, so we had this nice bullish run. We did have a cross of EMAs down here, and here there is a higher low point on this area of support. So first things first, since the market did break this kind of channel that I had, we're going to be pulling out our fibs because we have a higher low point and a higher high point, or point A and point B for fibs. So here's my point A, this bullish candle wick. Point B is going to be at the top of this bullish candle wick as well. So it's all about using your fibs with Confluence. So you can pretty much kind of expect almost to where the market's going to come back down to in terms of retracing. So I did also catch this tiny counter trend sell. I guess I can go into that too. But pretty much once the market did reach this area, I broke it all the way down to M30. As you can see, there's a little green line right here. That is my 4-hour support and resistance. Now, that being the 4-hour support and resistance, once the market did reach this area on M30 and started to reject that area, obviously there was a small cross of EMAs. So I had this highlighted here. So every time the market does something, you want to write it down in your notebook. You want to take note of it. So here we already have a rejection of resistance and a cross of red over blue EMAs. So after that, no retest, no entry. Keep that in mind. No retest, no entry. I wouldn't recommend breaking down to even a smaller time frame such as M15, just based off the fact that this is based off the 4-hour and it's 4-hour resistance. So the lowest time frame I'd go on is M30. So that being said, once the market did come up and retest this area and rejected it, I waited a little longer because I did not like how this candlestick formed, where it didn't engulf the previous bullish candlestick, but the one right after that did, and ended up having to have this sort of variation pattern. But with all that exhaustion towards the bottom, I still was not happy with making an entry. So finally, that's when I actually did break it down. Once the market did break this previous area of support, which was found right here. So once the market did break that area of support with this bearish candle closing under it, then I started to go on M15 and looking for an entry point. So that's when I pulled out my fibs. My point A was here. My point B was down here. Previous high to current lower low. So after that, the market ended up retracing all the way to 50%, where it started forming these kind of dojis and this big ass exhaustion candlestick. So I had an entry, I believe, with a sell limit order right on this area of resistance, and that's what got me in. I did take a little bit of drawdown, not too much, so it was about 3 pips. So order got activated almost immediately, and the take profit got hit immediately right after that, and I did end up catching around 25 pips. Not 28. I ended up closing like around this area, 25 pips. This is where my take profit was, at this support, because I was anticipating that it'd reject that support, which it did. So now in the counter trend, so now that M30 and H1 are kind of downtrending in a sense, if we look over here, lower lows and lower high points, right now we have to wait because the market is going to pull back. So that's when you can set up your fibs. So point A is down here, point B is up here at this bullish candle wick. So pretty much once the market did find an area of support, so this is what I'm talking about Confluence trading. So right here there's a previous broken area of resistance. So the market could have came down to about 3 places, right? The first place being the 38.20, which is here, which is at this area of resistance. The second area being at this support, or this what could have been a newfound support, What I'm talking about is, since it broke this resistance, if it were to come down to here, it'd be a newfound support, right? So you want to draw these things out. So the market had 3 places to go: 38.20, 61.80, or possibly even the 78.60 right here. So you kind of just want to have these areas drawn out just like that, pretty much filling the wicks as much as possible. So me personally, I didn't anticipate it to go as low as even 61.80. I thought it was just going to retrace off of 38.20, which it did exactly. So once we had a nice cross, or let's start at support first. Once the market did find this area of support and started rejecting it, with the first rejection being here, the retest and rejection being here, right? Anybody could have gone in somewhere right here when this candle closed, just like that, because one, you're at support. You know, it definitely would have been more of a confidence entry. But looking at M15, once these EMAs did cross, you could have had your the most perfect entry right here. And then obviously stop loss would have been down here, so you're looking at about 15-ish pips for a overall small scalp of 10 pips at this area of resistance. So that's how you could have scalped that really quickly. I didn't take that order, but right after that, after the market came back down and retested, remember, I had all these drawn out every time EMAs crossed. So as you can see from my previous trade, when I caught this move, EMAs were already crossed. They crossed here, and on the 4 hour they crossed up here. So now once the market came back down, retested, forming a low, completely rejecting this support yet again. So I actually broke it down to M15 to get an entry. So I believe once the market did start forming this exhaustion towards the bottom here, I had a sell limit order with, after these 2 candlesticks, right on that area of support, or a buy limit order, my apologies, right on this area of support. So that got triggered, took a little bit of drawdown, and then immediately back into profit, 4 pips, and ended up catching an overall of, I believe it was 25 pips on this move, because it started coming down on me. And if it breaks the 38.20, then I am out. So my point A is going to be here. My point B is going to be up here. As you can see, the market immediately started rejecting at 38.20, so I held, then came down, and once this bearish engulfing candlestick closed, especially with that little exhaustion towards the bottom, I ended up closing that position, that buy position, backing in around 25 pips, something like that. So here it says 18 pips, but overall it was around 25 to 20 pips. So that's how I caught that move. Next, then the overall move. So this area of support was retested yet again in a low, market not breaking this area of support, so the buy opportunity is still there, especially looking how H4 is forming with all this exhaustion at the 38.20, at this previous area of resistance, which is now turned into newfound support, as you can see here. So especially how this candlestick came up and just completely closed over the opening of this pretty much a bearish candle, telling me almost as if buyers are almost in control yet. But with this exhaustion towards the top, you do not want to hold a buy order. I mean, you definitely could have, but just cutting down on greed and things like that will definitely help you out and keeping you more consistent. So thinking about it like this, if you would have held this order, yeah, sure, right now you're doing profit 70 pips right here, right? You'd be in profit around 70 pips, right? So why, instead of being in profit 70 pips, you could have easily closed somewhere here, bagged in 20 pips, and then got in on a re-entry again, because it went all the way back down here. So that's exactly what I did, and instead you made more than what you could have if you would have held that one order. So just cutting down on greed and things like that is always best. So last but not least, my last entry was, I believe, once this candlestick had rejected right here with exhaustion on that area of support, is when I had another, and my last entry, oh no, not my last, another entry right here for the buy opportunity, because one EMAs had already crossed right here, and then after that I was valid. I was solid the whole time. So point A to point B. The market came to 38.20, then it went for that extension level really quickly. So after that, point A, point B, it retraced 100% with exhaustion towards the bottom. So I held the order and actually threw in another order somewhere at the top of this bearish candle. I did my entry on M15, so my entry was actually right here once this bullish candle closed, but I have my stop loss, I believe, a little bit under 110%, so it did get stopped out, if you could see from if you saw my Instagram story. But other than that, go back to M30. Once this candle closed right here, it's pretty much just a patience game. So right after that happened, the market just took off after this cross of EMAs right here, and then H4 EMAs were already crossed at that point back here as well. So the extension level did get hit, the negative 27. Take profit 1 being the 23, take profit 2 being the 0 at this resistance, and take profit 3 being the negative 27. I did not hold till take profit 4. That seems a little bit far away as well, as long as there's more, and there's also more Confluence on the negative 27, so that's why I had my take profit there. What do I mean by Confluence? We're at an area of resistance, daily resistance, strong resistance. I knew that I was most likely going to break this one and retest this one. So if it didn't break this resistance, it definitely, I knew it had potential to reach this area of resistance, at least being at the 0, but it went to the extension level. So it's all about setting your take profit levels, setting your stop loss levels at areas of Confluence. So if I would have had my stop loss like in between these wicks, that would have been completely retarded. So my initial stop loss was around here. So just a matter of putting everything together to get your trades perfectly over time with patience, and obviously practice makes perfect. You will be able to understand the market a lot better. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, and of course keep emailing me with questions. For those of you who are taking the 5-day course, I'm currently booked out till September 27th. So yeah, just hit me up if you have an appointment, or to schedule your appointment for the one-on-one class. And yeah, have a great day.